Here's an image I took off my forum. It belongs to a member in the forum, and I like the image. I like the way it's composed. It has a foreground, these trees in the foreground. It has the midground, which is the road, and I like the way it's curved, and it fades right off into the horizon, and you got the trees and the fog in the background. So it's got all the good components and composition of a good landscape. There were a few things, though, we could do to this image to enhance it. For one thing, it's kind of a little drabby. It's kind of monotoned. We're going to add some dimension to this road right now. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of the background layer, because I want to always work off the background, a copy of the background layer. In case I make any mistakes, I can always revert back to the original. And the next thing I'm going to do is make sure I have a soft brush, which I don't. And I'm going to make this really soft. Okay, let's see what we got here. That looks good. And I'm going to go into Quick Mask. I'm going to hit the letter Q on my keyboard, and that brings me into Quick Mask. And now I'm just going to paint in an area in this road that I think could use a little dimension right in here. And that looks good right there. I'll come out of Quick Mask by hitting Q again on the keyboard. Now I need to invert this selection that it made by holding down Control, Shift, and the letter I. And now I'm going to save this selection. I'm going to go up to the menu. I'm going to hit Select, Save Selection, and I'm just going to name this 1. And now I can deselect. And the next thing I want to do is I want to create a levels adjustment layer. So I'm going to go into the adjustment layers, and I'm going to make an adjustment layer and just click OK. And this creates the mask on the layer. I want that black. So I'm going to hit Control I to invert that and make it black. The next thing I want to do is I want to load my selection that I just saved. I'm going to load that selection. And that was the last one I loaded right here. There's that selection. Now what I need to do is go into my gradient tool. And I'm going to go from foreground to transparent. And white is my default color. So now I'm going to be creating a gradient from white to transparent. And I'm going to be doing that on that mask, on that layer mask, which is right here. And if I hit Alt and click on that mask, that'll bring the mask up into the layer itself. Now I need to get the right type of angle on this. Well, maybe we'll try this over here again. Let's see, right. Yeah, well, let's see, maybe this. Yeah, that looks good right there. You just got to play around with it until you get the selection that you want. That's about what I wanted. So now I'll hit the Alt key and click on the layer mask again. And now I'll bring up, by double clicking on that black and white circle, it brings up the levels dialog box. And the first thing I want to do is bring up the highlights. And watch the image as I do. It's bringing up the highlights, and I'm going to just fool around with the midtones and That looks good right there. And I'll deselect. Okay, now, I just think perhaps that maybe if we created some highlights along this tree, and maybe this tree, or this tree, the same basic technique we just created on the road we could do on the edge of these. So, I'm going to go into Quick Mask again. Select another brush. This time I'm going to make it a little smaller, so I can just get the edge of this tree. And I'm going to make a selection down the side of this tree. Just like so. And now I'll come out of Quick Mask again by hitting the letter Q. Invert the selection. And now I want to save it. Select, save, and I'm going to call this number 2. Okay, I'm going to deselect by holding down Control D. And now I'm going to create another levels adjustment mask. And click OK. I'm going to invert the mask color. And now we're going to load that selection. And number 2 is what I want. And there she is. Using the same technique we did before. I'm going to go from white to transparent, and let me see what that did here. Now I'm going to do that again. Yeah, that's, well, let me try that one more time. Yeah, that's more what I was looking for. Okay, I'll hit Alt the mask again. That'll bring me back. And now I deselect. Now I can work on my levels. And let's see what we got here. This is fun. And that looks good right about there. And I want to get a little closer here just to make sure I got it right. That looks good. Let me zoom back out. That was before and that's after. I see maybe perhaps I went over the line a little bit too much. So if I take a black brush and get in here a little closer and I just fill in right here. On that layer mask. Okay, let's zoom back out. And let's readjust this a little bit. And I'll click OK. And let's see, maybe we got a little too much over here. That looks good. Now, one other option I have here is to add a photo filter adjustment too. And I'm going to try and experiment with that. And I'm going to add Let me bring this up here so you can see what I'm doing. Right. Add a photo filter. Now just click OK just for right now. And what I'm going to do is copy this mask onto that photo filter. And it's asking me, do I want to replace that? I held down the Alt key and well, let me show you that again. I'm going to click on this layer mask, holding down the Alt key. I'm going to bring it up here and let it go. And it's going to ask me, do I want to replace that mask? I'll say yes. So I virtually duplicated this mask into the photo filter. Now bring up the photo filter and increase the lighting here. And let's see, if I wanted a brighter warming filter, I could use this one. Okay. And click OK. And let's see what happens if I play with the blending modes here too. I've got that option too. Adding a little bit more realism to it. And I think that I'll stay here. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to continue, but I would do the same technique I did on this tree. I would probably want to do it on this tree right here. And probably want this tree or this tree too also. Maybe not as pronounced, but I would definitely continue. So anyway, let's take a look at what we started with. We started with this, and we wound up with that. And that's it. Thank you.